So first things first, a couple of weeks ago, I put out a post on the community thing on the community page, and basically just asked you guys if you had any questions, and a few of you did, and you dropped them in down below, which we're gonna go through now. So, first one comes in from Danny V, which just says, when doing vocals, do you use fry or false chord screams, and how did you learn vocals? With my growls, especially, it's definitely false chord. It was just going from that normal and like taking it from there. That classic like, I'm Batman, I'm Batman, I'm Batman kind of thing, and just taking it from there. And it just kind of came over time, and just like learning different techniques and stuff. It was I took inspiration from Phil Bozeman, because like my normal mid is about here, there's a lot of voice in it, and then when I saw Phil Bozeman do his lows, I started to push the air out the side of my mouth and almost create like a tunnel sound. So it was more of like a it's right here instead, that kind of thing. And then obviously when I was getting into Lorna Shore, CJ McCreery introduced me to a lot of the tunnel stuff, which there was a little bit of inspiration there from Phil as well, but it was mainly CJ who really got me into like really low gargly kind of stuff. And it was Dickie Allen who actually inspired me with my, I don't know quite what you'd call it, but there's a technique I've used in a lot of songs where like you have this like really closed shape with your mouth, which is and he basically taught me, if you can get that air, push it through your nose and then plug your nose as well, you get this really kind of flat gravelly sound. So you kind of go from like a with it instead, and he kind of taught me that technique. With my screams, I'm not entirely sure, because I've tried multiple different techniques. I think the technique I mainly use at the moment is a fry, especially for any kind of tunnely kind of stuff. I think that's definitely more of a fry sound, which is possibly why I find it slightly difficult to transition from the false chord low to like the fry high. But my highs are something that I'm working on quite a bit. And I learned vocals by basically not having any lessons ever. I've never had any kind of heavy vocals or even singing lessons or anything like that. It was just a case of I wanted to be Corey Taylor so fucking much. And it was just a good fair few years of making weird noises, and I've never really watched any tutorials and stuff, because I've always gone about with the adage of like, no one can teach you how to do vocals. It's something you have to work out for yourself. Like obviously people can give you like tips and tricks and like teach you proper technique and stuff. But in terms of like finding my own voice and stuff, it's just been years of making weird noises and seeing where it comes up. And I still do that to this day. I will just walk around my house making weird noises. I got a tip from Will Ramos recently, which is to practice with the high screams, steamy showers, and like practice whilst you're in there, because apparently the steam does something with your nasal passage, which helps. And same as Devin Duarte from Worm Shepherd, he said that to try and really get the high sound right, you really need to, it's all in the nasal passage basically. So yeah, I picked up some tips and stuff along the way, and it's helping. But yeah, it's mainly years of making random noises. Duskwalker68, a regular on the channel, asks, what is your favourite or current favourite metal album? Personally, I can't decide between Iowa, The Boy, but I love you out of Elf, Reclaimer, and Nymphetamine. So Iowa, Slipknot, The Boy, Infant Annihilator, Reclaimer, Shadow of Intent, and Nymphetamine, obviously, Cradle of Filth. Favourite current metal album? Ooh, that's a tough choice. It's probably still Eternal Blue by Spiritbox at the moment. Like, that album speaks to me in ways no album ever has. That's just current favorite though. Like, I've had a few different albums on repeat this year. Absent Embodies Plague God, I've had that on repeat quite a lot. Mental Cruelty's A Hill to Die Upon, Worm Shepherd's Ritual Hymns, Lorna Shore's Immortal, Ice Nine Kills' Welcome to Horrorwood. I've been going back a lot recently to Thy Art Is Murder's Hate album. That's one of my all-time favourite albums. Yeah, but probably current favourite would be Spiritbox Eternal Blue. When it comes to favourite albums of all time, that comes later. William Chastain asks, what do you think is the best metal album or single ever made? Could be deathcore, could not be, your choice. Ooh, that is tough. That is really fucking tough. I think in terms of importance, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, in both album and song, like, that really, really started metal. I think there's like a few songs that you can pick out going through history, like you think of Metallica's Fade to Black and Master of Puppets songs. In terms of like, Fade to Black was Metallica going, hey, thrash bands and metal bands can make beautiful ballads, same as Nothing Else Matters and Enter Sandman. Megadeth's Rust in Peace album is pretty fucking wow and out there. I would honestly have to say, just for the influence that it's still having today, the most important metal album is Metallica's Master of Puppets. I know that's kind of a cliche thing to say, but like, everyone knows Master of Puppets, and everyone has heard it at some point in their life, and yeah. In terms of deathcore, I would argue that Suicide Silence's The Cleansing was like one of the most important in deathcore. Then Thy Art Is Murder's Hate, and nowadays you think of Lorna Shore's Immortal, Brand of Sacrifice's Lifeblood, Mental Cruelty's Hill to Die Upon, etc., etc. But in the entire scope of things, I would definitely say that Metallica's Master of Puppets is the most important album of all time for metal as a genre. Yep, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying that right. 112 brackets, GD, square brackets, fancy brackets. What is the weirdest, most unusual song that you like? I got shat on quite recently for really fucking liking Ashnikko. I don't know why her music just really, really vibes with me. The Slumber Party, Daisy, Cry, Maggots, especially at the moment, is a fucking banger. Weirdest song, I would probably say the Ghost song. And if you've not heard it before, this is the Ghost song. It's one of those songs that was made intentionally to be kind of fucked up. And it's just like, it's one of those ones where I'm like, dude, this is horrible. I was genuinely scared the first time I heard it. And I was just kind of like, you know, there's some kind of beauty you can find within it. And yeah, I'd probably say that's the weirdest song that I like. Metal Jedi Pirate, fellow YouTuber of the South, go check him out if you haven't already. If you could plan one main stage festival for one day, who would you pick and where would you place your band/artist? And then I believe he gave me 8. Yes, download main stages, 8 bands on in one day. 8 bands! Headlining, we're going to have Rammstein, simply for their show. And then, in no particular order, this is just going to be for my specific preference, we're going to have Lorna Shore, Ice Nine Kills, Spiritbox, Worm Shepherd, Mental Cruelty, Brand of Sacrifice, Amenra, and who do I want as my final? We'll go Black Tongue. We'll go Black Tongue as well. It's a bit of a mix. You got a lot of deathcore, some black metal, some metalcore, and then industrial metal to end off with. But I think, given what I'm currently listening to, like, that's what I would go with at the moment. Otherwise, like, I listen to so many bands, the scope would be far too broad. That's probably just like off the top of my head. Alex ST323, another long stay on the channel. What influenced you growing up to the music you love today? Your journey with music? Also, much love, brother. Much love to you, my friend. Much love. So musically, I've been on a bit of a journey because I was massively brought up on noughties R&B. A lot of Akon, Neo, Black Eyed Peas. Fergie was like my first ever crush as a child. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that. And then a friend of my old man's who he used to work with introduced him to Slipknot, Rammstein, Killswitch Engage, and then my old man passed that down to me. That was around 2008 when All Hope Is Gone had just come out, and it just introduced me to the dark side. That and the Devil May Cry games, because Devil May Cry 3 in particular had a banging soundtrack, and I was just like, oh, those are, like, I can groove with this. And it kind of just grew from there, and it's, yeah, I've just spiraled. It's gone from, like, Slipknot, Metallica, System of a Down, Korn, those kind of bands, to then getting more into, like, Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, etc, etc. Then it was definitely more metalcore for a time. Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, Wage War, Fit for a King, all that kind of stuff. And then 2018, Whitechapel's The Valley was starting to come out, and I remember hearing Brimstone and was just like, that's an angry stomp of a song, and it had me very, very intrigued. So that kind of introduced me to the heavy stuff, along with Jared Dines and his YouTube channel, and Austin Dickey. They really helped get me into that kind of heavier stuff as well, introduced me to like Thy Art and that kind of stuff. And from then on, you can pretty much see the progression with the channel. I would definitely say I'm a deathcore boy nowadays, but I listen to absolutely anything and everything. And when it comes to especially when it comes to music, but when I think of like what I have on repeat most days, it tends to be deathcore nowadays. James Lovell, again, another mainstay on the channel. Fuck yeah, dude. What made you go with the name The Mouth of the South? Also sing along or breakdown. So, The Mouth of the South was originally going to be a podcast name when I was at my university, because I've always been known for having a very loud mouth and for mouthing off, as people would say. I'm very, very opinionated, and I'm from Southampton. So, Mouth of the South, it rhymed, it sounded cool. So I was just like, yeah, I'm going to make a podcast. And then when it came to making my little rant video that I did on a WWE, which really started the channel, I needed to come up with a name. So I went with The Mouth of the South. And yeah, from there it's just kind of stuck. For a while, I was going to change it to my nickname, kind of like between friends and like my gamer tag and stuff, which is Ironside. I was going to change the channel to like Ironside Reacts or something like that. But by that point, Brand of Sacrifice had known me as The Mouth of the South. So I was just like, nope, you know what? Brand know me. So I can't change it now. So it kind of just stuck. And I like the fact that it almost has a title. The Mouth of the South makes me feel more important than I actually am. Pre_OW. Again, I've seen you a lot recently. Hell yeah, my man/chick. I can't tell by your picture. Let me know. What band has taken you by surprise? In a good way or a bad way? Because there have been some bands over the years that like I have not been a fan of, and then like Enterprise Earth recently, that with their new album The Chosen, that took me by surprise. I did not expect to like that as much as I did. Ice Nine Kills, when I first got into them, they took me by surprise massively. Who else? Chelsea Grin, I guess you could say, because like I'd never heard of Tom Barber before, and when they announced that he was their vocalist, I was like, oh, finally they've got rid of Alex. Let's see if it's worth it. And boom, I was hooked. Eternal Nightmare is like one of my favorite deathcore albums ever. It's so fucking good. In a bad way, Motionless in White. I just like, I fucking loved for everything from when Love Met Destruction up until Disguise. Disguise, they really, really went downhill in my opinion. And nowadays they kind of have their sound and they're just kind of sticking to it. And a lot of people like it. I don't. I think there's a lot better bands out there now. However, Slaughterhouse does bang. I will give them that. Slaughterhouse does bang, but that's mainly because of Nocturloose. Gojira took me massively by surprise, and I think it goes without saying, Lorna Shore. Pax Tibby, or Tibby, again, another mainstay on the channel. Fuck yeah, my man. What influences from youth stuck with you till today? Is the interest in horror from youth? Wrestling as well. How has that influenced your taste in music, if at all? A lot of questions there. But so this is going to be a long-ass answer. Honestly, a lot of who I am today has stuck from youth. Everything from the obsession with Vikings. If you couldn't notice the Viking weapons in the background. My Viking tattoos. Like my wolves and stuff, the Viking rings, etc., etc. The arm ring. That's always stemmed from a love of history. Everything from world wars to ancient Greece and the Spartans and ancient Rome and all that kind of stuff. And it's just slowly manifested into my obsession with Vikings. So yeah, that's definitely been a thing from youth. I was obsessed with history in school. Horror was definitely from youth. Saw Scream at the age of 8, and that stuck ever since. And that's probably why Scream is one of my favorite horror franchises, if you couldn't tell. Just by the background, I'm a big fan of horror. The Conjuring is my current favorite horror franchise. If not The Conjuring, then Saw, hence the Jigsaw, Tattoo. Yeah, I would say the main influence that came from my youth was wrestling, and in particular The Undertaker. So back on my PS2 back in the day, my old man randomly brought home SmackDown vs. Raw, the first ever SmackDown vs. Raw. And I was scrolling through all the characters, and there was just this one guy that stuck out to me, and it was The Undertaker. And I was like, oh, he looks cool, I want to play with him. And yeah, I loaded up the game and I did Undertaker versus Rey Mysterio because it showed that on like the trailer on the menu screen. And I watched his entrance and I was just like, suddenly I was just intrigued by the dark side, you know, and that stayed with me ever since. And then for my birthday that year, suddenly out went the Doctor Who and the Star Wars and stuff, which I'm still a fan of now. That's another thing, Marvel, DC, all of that kind of stuff, Star Wars, Doctor Who. I'm a massive fucking nerd, okay? It all stemmed from childhood, and it stayed with me until now. But yeah, my birthday that year, out was all of that Doctor Who and Star Wars stuff, and in was wrestling. I got a Big Show chair, I got an Undertaker punching bag, Rey Mysterio masks, my World Heavyweight Championship, which I still have to this day, which is just a foam plastic piece of shit. Which I broke tombstoning a friend of mine onto it, and you can see where my knee hit it and broke. And I believe I fixed that before, and I've just broke it again, so I'm a fucking idiot. God damn it. But yeah, the reason I've kept on to this so long is because that birthday, I got WrestleMania 23 on a box set. And I sat and watched it all morning whilst my parents were getting stuff ready for the day for me. And I was sat in my Big Show chair wearing my Undertaker t-shirt and my Rey Mysterio mask. And I was watching WrestleMania. And it was Undertaker versus Batista. And Undertaker won. And he won the World Heavyweight Championship, the big gold belt. And yeah, this has a lot of sentimental value. This has stayed with me since I was about 6, 7. And yeah, I've moved multiple times since. And I've been in and out of love with wrestling for years and years and years. I had so many other belts, but this is something I will never, ever, ever be rid of. And yeah, my love for wrestling has stemmed from there. WWE for a lot of years. I then fell out of love with it and then fell back in love with it. around the time of The Shield and the Wyatt family. And Bray Wyatt / Wyndham Rotunda is one of my favourite wrestlers of all time. And I've always had an obsession with the dark wrestlers. It's why I have my House of Black chain on consistently. Like, honestly, since this has been put on, I've never taken it off. Malachi Black is one of my favourite wrestlers of all time now, and in fact, my dark sleeve, which I'm getting continued on, is going to be a big Malachi Black going up here. And then, obviously, like, my love for The Fiend. I've got all my Fiend stuff behind me. And I think that stems from my love of horror as well. Like, and just my music taste. I like dark shit. I've always liked the villains and stuff. Like, in Star Wars, I was always more intrigued in Darth Vader than I was Luke Skywalker. I was always more Darth Maul than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Or in Doctor Who, I was always a fan of the Daleks because they were just killing machines. In superheroes, Batman is my favourite superhero. The Joker is my favourite supervillain. Like, I've always just been slightly fucked and enjoyed the darker things in life. So, yeah, I think that started from young. And then that also helped with the theatrics, because, like, seeing Masked Kane really helped in getting me into, like, Slipknot and understanding the mask culture and all that kind of stuff. And that's another thing that has stuck with me since childhood. Collectibles. My room is fucking full of them. Like, my mask collection alone, I say only, it cost me about $1,000, and it's still going up and up and up. My room is surrounded by, like, collector's edition comic books, Funko Pops. This sits right here, my Infinity Gauntlet. So yeah, this sits right by me. Everything from Devil May Cry, you can't see it, but just behind the camera, I've got, like, Virgil, who is my favourite video game character of all time. Devil May Cry is my favourite video game series of all time. I've got, like, Virgil's coat, the Yamato, his Son of Sparta necklace, and all that kind of stuff. What else do I have? Obviously, Annabelle. If you haven't seen, I've got Annabelle, the real one. My collection of vinyls, masks, and now figures and all that kind of stuff. Like, I've got a Fiend figure over yonder, along with, like, a Michael Myers and a Freddy Krueger. Yeah, comic books, box sets, Funko Pops, actual books as well. I collect actual books. Yeah, collectibles. Also, boxing. That has stayed with me since a young age. I remember being very, very young, and my granddad Alan, who has since passed away, I remember very, very early on in my life, he taught me how to box and how to throw a punch properly. And then I've always had an interest in fighting and in boxing ever since. And yeah, it's something I still train in and practice now. And it's still something I watch any time I can. Tyson Fury is the fucking GOAT. And finally, from Jerry H, we have favorite soda, which is an American term, and you're all fucking wrong. It's weird because Americans will say, like, oh, do you say soda or do you say pop? And we just say drink. Like, we just ask for what we want. Like, we don't say, oh, can you go to the shop and get me a can of pop or a can of soda? We will say, oh, go to the shop and get me a Coke. Or go to the shop and get me a Pepsi. Get me a Mountain Dew. Get me something. Like, so I guess the closest we'd have is soft drink, we call it. Because we like our hard drink. Proper 12, pure Irish whiskey. Saying the bloke who sells it is an absolute cunt nowadays. But I would probably have to say Cherry Pepsi Max. Just because, I don't know, something about it. Cherry Pepsi Max. But yeah, I tend to watch a lot more AEW now than I do WWE. I still stay in contact with WWE because they have some wrestlers there that I really like. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and all that kind of stuff. But I mainly watch AEW now. I watch Dynamite and Rampage live every week. I'll always watch the pay-per-views. I watch Dark and Dark Elevation any opportunity I can. I'll always watch BTE, being the Elite and that kind of stuff. My favourite wrestlers nowadays are obviously Malachi Black, anyone from the House of Black, so Brody King, Buddy Matthews, Bray Wyatt / Wyndham Rotunda, The Fiend, any of his characters, they're all good. MJF, because he's better than you and you know it. PG Punk, Wardlow, massive fan of Wardlow. Just all of the Blackpool Combat Clubs, Bryan Danielson, Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, big up Willie Reegs. Eddie Kingston as well. Massive fan of Eddie Kingston. Abaddon is one of my favourite women's wrestlers of all time. Alexa Bliss. If I could be with any woman in the world, I would be with Alexa Bliss. Hands down. But yeah, she's my favourite women's wrestler ever. So yeah. Undertaker is also an all-time favourite of mine. But over the years, it's kind of become hard to be a fan of Taker. I was talking about being in love with dark stuff. I completely forget that I've got an actual grimoire sat next to me this entire time. The Lesser Key of Solomon, and it's really cool grimoire, and got a lot of cool information and symbols in it. So that's really cool. So I think I've rambled on enough for now, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that little Q&A and getting to know me section. Thank you very much to everyone who submitted questions. It genuinely means a fucking lot. And again, thank you all for 5k subs. It honestly means the fucking world to me. You have no idea. We are so close to 1 million views. That's mental to say, like really fucking mental. So yeah, thank you all so much. And we'll leave on a nice little compilation. Thank you all. Also, could not leave out that the Devil May Cry series of video games are my favourite of all time. And they also helped, again, with the dark stuff. You'd play half demon, half human, slaying demons with massive swords and guns. And it's got loads of girls with big fat titties in them. Like, what's not to fucking love? And then that also spawned off into Resident Evil, which still leads to now. Lady Dimitrescu. Need I say more? I don't think I need to say more. I'm a little bit too obsessed with Miss Alcina, but that's who my sword's named after. Her name's Alcina. And other than that, games like GTA and all that kind of stuff. Also, I would say that comedy has been a massive part of my life for the longest time. I've always been a fan of stand-up comedy. I remember absolutely pissing myself the first time I ever laid eyes on Lee Evans, funniest man in history. Michael McIntyre, Russell Howard. Nowadays, I watch a lot of Jimmy Carr, Frankie Boyle, Jim Jeffries. You know, they're all fucking hilarious. And also just funny cartoons. Always been a fan of cartoons. From anything from Ed, Edd and Eddy, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Phineas and Ferb, to which then grew into a love of The Simpsons, which then grew into a love of Family Guy, which is currently grown into a love of South Park and a slight obsession with South Park. When I'm spending like 200-300 quid on fucking South Park trainers, is that an obsession going too far? I don't think it is. I think it's fine.